Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for coming. I like to thank you on behalf of Zebu for the amazing panel to get this opportunity to be with us tonight and for everyone else to join us tonight. I would like to hand over things to Scott, your wonderful host of Name Name, and I'll be in the background if needed. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, welcome everyone. I hear we've got attendees from all over the world. So thank you for your time. I'm really excited to be asked by Zivu to be the host for this one. I'm going to be a host for the next hour. The topic is going to be the new era of direct bookings, AI, data, and guest experience. But I've got an expert panel here to keep it interesting, fun. Sounds like a dry topic, guys, but we're going to be bringing some amazing knowledge to you. I'm going to introduce them in a second. We've got some value to give you. We've got some great stuff and information to share with you about what's happening now and in the future. But guys, please put some stuff in the chat, put some questions. Hopefully we will get time at the end. So we're going to be talking about direct bookings. And it's no longer just getting a direct booking to take that commission away from the OTAs. We need to build visibility. We need to build AI into what we're doing, the AI searches that are more and more prevalent, and capturing that data, using that data, and enhancing the guest experience, and doing something that all the big OTAs can't replicate. So for hotels and short-term rentals alike, success depends on breaking down all these and adopting AI technologies and focusing on what truly drives loyalty and profitability. Thankfully, I don't need to talk about that. I'm simply a host this evening. I'm going to introduce my three amazing panelists here who are the experts. Ziva's brought them in from all over the world. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. First, over to Christine.
Thank you, Scott. My name is Christine Malfair. I am a former hotel manager that started Malfair Marketing 15 years ago, and I am based in British Columbia, Canada.
Fantastic. Lovely.
Pleasure to be here.
Nice. Over to Martin next.
Thanks, Scott. So I'm Martin Cooper, and I'm one of the founders and now sales and marketing director for Niche Service Departments. We specialize in short-term rentals, service department model that's built around kind of flexibility, comfort, and a real kind of local connection. We started in Essex in the UK and now operate nationally. We've been steadily growing by focusing on what kind of matters to the guests, not just a place to stay, but a place that feels kind of considered, personal, and part of the local community. My background is in sales and marketing, but over the years, I've become more heavily involved in operations, tech adoption, guest experience, because they're sort of inseparable in this industry. We're now hammering down on things like centralized communications to try and streamline guest experience. And I'm quite active in the policy space and successfully lobbying for certain changes in this industry. So I'm here to share some of what's working for us, what we've learned the hard way, and how short-term rentals, even the small ones, can compete with the big players.
Lovely. Finally, over to Sarah.
Thanks, Scott, and to Zifu for having us here. This is really fun conversation to have with our peers. My name is Sarah Stahl, and I have been in marketing about 15 years. Got my start in hospitality about 7 years ago as the director of a DMO. And that's where I fell in love with hospitality. Unfortunately, I do not like the government side, and it took me a little while to figure that out. So an opportunity came available a couple of years ago with a startup treehouse resort in my area. So I helped grow it from 6 units at 100% Airbnb dependency to 21 units and a full on-site spa. With 93 direct bookings, spending less than $50,000 in advertising. And we did that through a consistent and ongoing influencer marketing strategy that spanned the course of 2 years. And so now I'm actually a marketing consultant with Market Movers, and it's a company for property management, short-term rentals that help folks replicate that kind of success within their systems, both technology and marketing, so that they can own their own brand demand.
Lovely. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. And you've heard about 30 to 60 seconds of these guys' bios, but please connect with them. They've been very modest in what they're saying, true experts in the field. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm your host, Scott Weir, founder, CEO of Pillow Partners. I think we first started our first business back in 2002, well before Airbnb. 2 decades. I should be a billionaire by now. Sadly not, but guys, lots of experience in short-term rentals in the UK. And our unique approach to it really is bringing social impact to it. So we want our guest experience to have a charity element. We have our own charity, Safe Havens, and we want to interweave that social impact and helping communities into every single stay, make society a better place. So this is a perfect webinar for me to be on, and I'm looking forward to learn. I've got a cup of tea here to keep me warm in a cold Glasgow September night, and we're going to jump right in with some questions, guys. So if you saw the topic, you're here. It's about direct bookings. We're going to start with the why of direct bookings. What changes or trends have you seen over the last couple of years that's had the biggest impact on the increase away from OTAs to direct bookings? And we're going to pass this over to all panelists, but we'll start with Sarah, please.
Yeah, so I actually see 4 major shifts on the horizon that the industry seems to really be waking up to that I believe require our immediate attention. It's okay, I just go over all 4 and give a little context to each. First is consumer behavior. I love data. So looking backwards, trust in the open marketplace continues to slip, and it shows in the way that people book. So back in 2022, only about 20% of room nights were booked direct, where the OTAs held 40. Then you jump to 2023, you see about a 20% shift on both of those. And then you hit 2024, and that's the year that I believe direct channels finally went toe-to-toe with OTAs, with direct bookings sitting at about 262 billion and OTAs at 266. So neck and neck, consumer behavior is clearly changing, and coming in next is better tech and mobile dominance. So we see 66% of travelers booking mobile. And then third is personalization and loyalty. So we're not seeing so much of just like first name here in emails, but there's a lot more depth in the CRM systems of understanding and then communicating with PMS systems so that we can give better experiences to guests. And then finally, economic reality. So the financial case for direct bookings has become both apparent and very compelling, with OTAs typically charging about 15 to 30% commissions, where direct bookings cost between 4 and 5% to acquire. And so many owners would rather reinvest those margins, both in their business and into giving their direct customers back some loyalty. And so those are the 4 shifts I'm seeing right now.
Beautiful. Sarah makes a great point. There's always a customer acquisition cost, and direct bookings aren't always free because there is a cost to acquire that customer or a discount. So that's fantastic, guys. Over to Martin.
Yeah. So over the last few years, the conversation around direct bookings has been big in this space, but it's kind of matured. I think it's matured away from just trying to save commission from the host perspective, more into kind of the ability to own the relationship from start to finish. So there's a growing awareness and reliance on OTAs is obviously risky. They control visibility, they control pricing, and with the more complex algorithms, it becomes harder and harder to be seen and to be heard. So direct bookings give us that ability to control the narrative. So you can present your properties in the way that you want them to be presented, exactly how you asked for it. It's not just a list of amenities. It's not just a list of 1 in 1,000 properties. You're connecting directly to the local area, and you're presenting in the way it needs to be presented. It gives you the opportunity to build like long-term relationships. So guests who book direct, they're more likely to return, more likely to create referrals. If you're engaging with content, if you're pushing out social content and you're getting guests and businesses to engage with that content, that gives you the opportunity to build relationships. And that customer acquisition cost over a period of 1 to 5 years becomes almost irrelevant then. So as well as being able to advertise using the OTA channels, the ability to adapt quickly when like local and national events are happening. So the ability to change pricing quickly, use them as content tools. So you can advertise using blog posts for specific events locally or for things like construction activities. So we use our direct booking platform to educate guests about local events. So we can offer tailored packages, share updates on property improvements or developments that's going on. And you just can't do that through the OTA channels.
Fantastic. And final thoughts on how the direct booking trends have changed. Over to you, Christine.
Well, I'll start with the not so great news. The OTAs, I think, largely have been biting pieces of market share. And I know that there's a lot of very positive indicators for direct bookings to increase. I know Skift last year came out with a projection that direct was going to eclipse the OTAs by 2030. That created quite a buzz. Everybody was quite excited about that. How do we get that done? Largely AI has made that a possibility. But the OTAs, and this is where for some time, when I was a hotel manager, we just, you listed there for what we called the billboard effect once upon a time. And the billboard effect now has become a loyalty effect. It's become like all these other things. And so what the OTAs have been really doing is not just offering the shop by price model that they have, but they're also really digging deep into loyalty. And I think that whenever they do things like that, we look at, okay, well, that's what we need to do as well. And we need to, I have an acronym called ABC. Once upon a time in sales, it used to always be closing. In the marketing world, it is always be converting. And so it is really about trying to get those guests who, if you've leveraged the billboard effect, got the guest once, do your best. Throw everything you can at getting that relationship to be direct. And I think that the tools and the activities and the, as Sarah said, the consumer behavior shift is really leading into that being a reality for independent hotels. And, when we think about what leaves our country, what leaves our communities in terms of OTA commissions. When we talk about community enrichment, which I think, at the top of this call, we talked about that. But if 25% of every night stay that you have, and you have 50+% of your revenue is coming from the OTAs, that is a huge amount of money out of your community. And often we don't think about these things. We think about the pocketbook implications and not a global. So to answer your question, there are a lot of, I think it's a prime time for independent hoteliers and independent properties in the age of AI for direct bookings. But we've got to do what the OTAs, we have to follow their lead in loyalty, and we have to also do what they can't.
And it's great you've said that, because you've actually answered part of the next question, because the next point I wanted to put to the panel was about competing with the titans, these multi-billion-pound companies. How can smaller operators, maybe getting a direct booking website, loyalty programs, how can we compete with the large OTAs? They're all there, price, creating all these special offers. You touched on it. How, Christine, can we go beyond that shop by price and truly differentiate ourselves moving into 26 and beyond, rather than just picking prices off an OTA? How do we compete with these giants?
I think one of the positive things that came out of COVID was the need for, if I'm going to be spending my money, I want to be spending it well. And so they're looking for experiences. And this is where, Sarah tipped off around consumer behavior changes. People are looking, especially in our younger generations, are looking for far more experiences, and not just in the hotel itself, but in the area. And so I think that drives a lot of ways to leverage direct bookings, make it really valuable give people a great reason why to book. Nobody's really in a better position than independents to do that. to offer that deep experience. So I think that that's probably the biggest lever to pull there.
Lovely. Your thoughts on this, Martin? How can we compete with the giants?
We try not to compete with them. Actually, we try to leverage them for what they're good for. So the OTAs they dominate on price and convenience and reach. You know, they've got a reasonable marketing budget compared to the rest of us, but they're quite transactional. They're not looking to build emotional connections. There are obviously individuals that trust some certain OTAs, but we use the OTAs for what they're good at, which is reach and visibility. You've got to use their ability to get the guests in, and then use your own strategies to build that human connection. And Christine said about conversion, and it's always about conversion and trying to create local experience. Even when you're dealing on national or international level, you have to provide things like local guides. So your guest booking that's booking direct can get handpicked recommendations for local activities, that kind of thing. We speak to all guests before they arrive. We have a human first experience, which I know goes against the AI trend, but that is the thing that we can do, which Airbnb and such can't. We speak to guests, we let them know what they can expect when they arrive at our property. And just by doing that, we build immediate connections. So during that call, we're personalizing their experience so that when they're arriving, wedding, you know, whatever the reason is, then we can offer little incentives, little treats to just build that long-lasting relationship. And of course, with direct bookings, you can offer things like early check-ins and, you know, other little incentives, which just help to build that long-lasting relationship.
I think a few of my property managers from across the country are on, and they'll be smiling at this, because that booking call, that actual phone call from a person, just adds so much value. Right, we've spoken about OTAs, these big giants. We'll let Sarah focus on tech, and some of you will be aware of the term the tech stack, the things that we layer into our business above and beyond the accommodation aspect. And it seems like every single day you see ads for new technology, new AI systems, new variations and new machine learning models, and they're all going to plug into PMS's property management systems. And I'm certainly overwhelmed as the CEO and the leader of the business. My job is to keep an eye on this, and it's a full-time job. As operators, as hosts, we need some form of tech stack. But when it comes to getting direct bookings, I'll start you with this one, Sarah. What core technology should businesses be prioritizing to stay efficient and competitive? Again, there's so much choice here. Let's try and simplify it down for the audience. What's some essential tech solutions you would recommend so we can keep it simple and get this started and then build on it? Sarah.
Yeah. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room that you just brought us, and it's the challenge of tech. It's almost like we're just so bloated with technology in our systems. And so I actually see that there's a simple answer, and that's that tech should feel invisible to the guest and simple to the owner and the team. So if it feels like a second job, that's your indication that you either have the wrong tech or you have too much tech that is not communicating with each other. So while I don't think that this is the time to get into all the different solutions, I think that that's something if someone wants to connect with me over, I'm happy to have a deeper conversation. But it really, especially in the short-term rental space, you don't need 20 systems to win. The key is a clean booking flow, a system that syncs well with operations, and a CRM to track your repeat guests and deliver personalization at scale. And that's it. That's where I would say start. A lot of those, as you mentioned, integrate well with AI. So I would say that's secondary to making sure your foundation is core, as long as you know that there's the ability to start bringing in. So one key thing that I always look at is an open API. So we were actually limited at our property with what softwares were even available because we wanted to make sure everything was speaking so tightly and we could get any question answered regardless of what system it was held on. because they were all interconnected with an API. So I feel like understanding that and then building the strong foundation across the team, and then building off of it when you're comfortable with how the foundation is functional.
Do the basics well is what I'm hearing. And I might be guilty of trying to jump away and do fancy stuff and, you know, set new market trends, but
There's always time for fancy.
there is
Later.
there's people not getting back to their emails or answering phone calls or doing the messages fast enough that what, so the basic well is a foundation and add on.
And that, oh, sorry, I was just gonna add one more thing, that but that's why there's this shift towards company like a Fixify. Not sure if you're familiar with that one or not, but they're actually the middleman, because owners and operators are getting burned out and tired. They don't have the time to sit through sales calls, and they need to understand what technology solves their solution the best. And so it's an interesting shift that's happening to remove the salesperson.
Cool, great insights. Martin and Christine, do you just want to jump in before we move on?
So I think just to back up what Sarah said, really, I think there are so many tech solutions out there at the moment. And like you said, Scott, one's being thrown at you every single day at the minute. That's why I would be focusing on getting the right systems. Simple, have them talking to each other, again, like Sarah's mentioned. Don't chase the shiny objects, because there are so many of them available. But if you find a tool that solves a real problem, works with your business and works with the ability to scale and is invisible to the guest, I think that's number one. Number two is, if you are integrating the system, I would make sure that your team actually use it. Because change is difficult, and especially at the rate of change that we're all experiencing right now, that is a big part of it. So that would be one thing I'd be considering. So rolling it out as a test model across your team as well.
Lovely. Final thoughts on this, Christine?
Yeah, tech is such a big, there's just so many sort of subtopics to cover, right? You can talk onboarding and adoption and training and where to get your team involved. And there's just so many areas, but specific to marketing, specific to direct bookings. I think that obviously have a good booking flow, as Sarah said, make it easy, friction free. I love that Martin's team calls personally. That is an area that could be easily replaced by technology, but if it doesn't suit the brand and the service and those starting points that you want to create a connection, that's not a good place to replace it. So it needs to make sense. What does it feel like? What is the soul of your brand? And how do you serve your guests best? If it's a lower value and it can be replaced by, technology, by all means. But I think one aside from the booking flow is a CRM, because a good CRM is going to tell you a lot, used well, is going to tell you a lot about your guests. It's going to give you a great opportunity of capturing those direct bookings. So instead of defaulting, you see your pace report or your occupancy slip, instead of defaulting, I'll throw up an OTA promotion. The first place you should turn to is your CRM. Who knows us, loves us, and already likes us and would want to return? Let's talk to those folks.
Beautiful. All three of the panelists there, although we're talking about tech, answered the question with the word guest. So let's go back to guests. Let's take a guest-centric approach to this, because there's technology that automates AI, but it is all about guests, and we spoke about guest experience. So for the host operators out there, we've built our own website. People are going to visit it. We can capture those details. How do we take that visitor, that anonymous person we don't know, and take them into a loyal repeat booker, and give them that digital experience, personalize it, as Martin says, get them booking your property and being a brand advocate? I'll start with Martin for this one, please.
Well, firstly, you've got to get people to your website in the first place. And that can be challenging, especially, as we say, competing with some big channels. For us, it's a careful, consistent, repeat mix of blog content curated to local events, local construction, if you're targeting, say, contractor stays, and some cues in your online listings with some of the OTAs, but of course, being careful not to fall foul of any rules and regulations, and email and social marketing campaigns. But a website alone won't convert. You've got to guide the visitor from kind of curiosity to commitment. So we need them to book. So we kind of treat the website like a concierge desk. So you've got your agents. So there's a WhatsApp integration, or there's an AI chat facility for that kind of quick answer to try to stop the drop-offs. Very clearly signposted pathways as to how to go from A to booking, because as Christine said, it needs to be as easy, frictionless as possible to get that booking. I don't know the exact ratio of people that would not book if they couldn't book it on a mobile, for example, on a website, but I imagine it was pretty high. But within the website, it's about kind of trust signals, so real reviews, and that might even mean publishing reviews that aren't 5 stars, because the ones that aren't 5 stars tend to be more believable. Don't get many of them, of course, but they do happen. And local photos, so providing up-to-date, again, mention local events. So within the listings, if you've got photos from a recent event or an upcoming event, that will help just to build trust in your platform. And you've got to keep them up to date, so property and local photos up to date, so that the expectation is set from the moment of booking. So, I mean, we can also track what pages the guests visit most, and we can actually tailor our follow-up emails accordingly. So if we see people are regularly visiting a family-friendly place in a certain town, then we could tailor our future marketing, blog activity, social content, or email marketing to that specific type of event, or family-friendly activities, for example.
Lovely. Sarah, thoughts on turning a visitor into a loyal guest?
Yeah, I do want to start off by following up with something Martin just said about the concierge, and that's something that I think we hear a lot, but I just want to point out what he's saying there. That's really important, and that's what's going to help you in AI search heavily as well, and be discoverable in AI search, is to have this expansion of your website in the format that he was talking about. So speaking of websites, we really like to say, and we hear it a lot, that a website is a guest's first impression, but let's be honest, it's really not. More often, what happens is that first touch point happens on social media. And by the time a guest makes it to your site, they're on like step 3 or 4 in their journey, and only because something else sparked it. A social post, somebody else talked about it, someone shared something about it, something else sparked that first impression that you actually probably didn't even have a lot to do with. So here's what I'm seeing is the most effective direct booking track, and what it looks like today. And it's just 3 steps. A property that partners with creators consistently. That's where you get high level volume of content in someone else's voice, who their niche audiences know, like, and trust. Because again, as we mentioned at the beginning, the marketplace trust across the board, I actually don't care what industry you are in, is excruciatingly low. So those creators share their stay in their own voice with that niche audience, and they tag the property. And if you're working well with those creators, they should all have a trackable booking code, so you can kind of see what's happening over time with your ROI. And then a curious guest clicks through and they check out either they start with the social profile, and they kind of check out what's going on social media, and then they get to your website. So now we're at like step 3 or 4. And at this point, if the website doesn't match the tone and trust that was initially built lightly in the first 2 steps, that guest bounces and they're completely gone. So that's when, if they stay and the trust is there and it feels the same consistency in the other touch points, then that's when they'll drop their email for a small incentive, and you have that ability to convert. So we've run that at scale week over week for 2 years straight. And I've seen consistently 34% conversion rates while cutting ad spend in half. And that's the momentum necessary to win back direct bookings if we're talking about competing with OTAs.
I told you to get your pens and notepads ready, guys. I hope you went and did that in the chat, taking this stuff down. Final thoughts, please, Christine. Anonymous visitors into loyal guests, please, and we'll jump to the next question.
Yeah, I think Martin and Sarah have covered the like path to purchase very well. And like I said, I do very much admire Martin's team for making those phone calls in advance. I think that that's probably secured a lot of repeat guest business for him and the business because it is unusual and uncommon. And as you know, tech adoption and sort of that touchless interaction is on the rise everywhere else, it is a great opportunity to stand out. I think the best opportunity is just be amazing in your hotel. This is the GM brain talking here. Like, yes, the marketers, but it's just, you know, deliver a great experience. That's how you win people over. I think a lot of loyalty programs are in question, whether the coming generations are looking for points and rewards and, you know, sort of an app to keep track of how many points that influences their stay. I'm seeing a lot of data that's informing that that's on the decline. So I think that it really is about those connections and those experiences. And it's just deliver on your promise and do a great job. Now, in terms of inviting them back again, I think incentives help. I think understanding preferences help, and certainly personalization and making it easy.
And it's great points. I'm going on honeymoon just before Christmas for 5 weeks, and I want to give these guests, I want to give the host that we booked through when we're going to Cape Verde direct bookings, and we take it off platform, find them, do the things Martin said, find their website, and there was 5 of the 10 we decided to still book through the OTA. The trust wasn't there. We didn't feel comfortable with the website or social media. Some we did, and we obviously, that we wanted to give them direct bookings. We didn't want to give money to the OTAs. But in 50% of those, we still ended up saying, that doesn't feel right. We don't want to get there. And there's a problem. We wanted the safety and security of the OTA. And that's somebody that's in the industry that's doing that and doesn't find the trust. So it's massively important what the guys have said. For the audience, guys, we are just over halfway through. I've loved some comments. Are you enjoying what you're getting here? Do you have any questions? We've got lots to cover and probably more content here for you guys than the hour. So if you've got any questions, please don't leave them to the very end because we want you to, we'll know you're on different time zones. We want to be very respectful of your time. Certainly me. I could be here for 3-4 hours on this because I'm learning loads. So guys, please put some comments in and some questions, please. And if you're loving what the panel are giving you, please give them some shout outs and some kudos. Right, we've covered guests, and the topic of this was AI. So we're going back to AI and the AI visibility race here. With AI-driven search engines shaping how travelers are discovering hotels and short-term rentals, what should we be prioritizing to build their visibility engines and ensure they're not losing against the OTAs? And guys, some people might not understand what the AI-driven search engines are. And many of our competitors, Martin, you'll know this in the UK, there's many operators don't even comprehend what that is. So I'm going to go to Christine, please, to answer that. What should we be prioritizing for the AI search that's just going to show up people's listings?
There's 3 things that come to mind. The first one is AI can't recommend or include you in results if it doesn't understand or trust you. So people are, hosts, operators, independent hotels need to create content in a way that follows the EEAT principles. And these are principles that were created by Google in 2014, so they aren't new. They were designed for search engine optimization, but now leveled up in terms of AI search. And AI search is anything from the 0-click searches that are happening now with AI overviews, ChatGPT, anything you're putting into some form of agent. So the content that you want to prioritize there, I give them 4 personas so people can understand, because I find talking to folks, they're like EEAT. Okay, so that stands for expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. And so they say, okay, well, what the heck is all of that, right? And how do I demonstrate that? How do we incorporate that? And the best way, and it has kind of bubbled up already, the best way is number one, think of yourself maybe as a cruise director on a cruise ship. I used to work on cruise ships. So cruise directors were the person that all the passengers went to that just knew everything. They had the deep experience. Then in terms of the expertise, that's your concierge. So we talked about that. So in terms of content writing, you want to write from a place of expertise and deep knowledge. It's everywhere. You're going to find bad content that has been churned up by ChatGPT in a heartbeat and thrown up on the internet. And what you want to do as operators is go deeper, take the insights that you know and incorporate that into your content. There's ways of working with pages that already exist in your website and building new ones. Blog posts, articles include EEAT in social as well. So the A stands for authority. So that's essentially a PR function. And then trustworthiness is all about reviews. So that's sort of the 4 principles there. That the second way is prioritizing. So that's an internal function of marketing, taking care of the content that you own in social media, your website, and so on, your email marketing. Externally, make sure that all of your third-party channels that you're on, Google Business Places or Google Business Profile, Bing Places. Bing is so overlooked. I can't tell you, most of the hotels I work with, they say, why would I need a Bing Places listing? Nobody's on Bing. I'm like, yes, but OpenAI and ChatGPT are on Bing and they're sourcing that. So it's pretty darn important. And there's really easy ways of doing that. So it's paying attention to consistency across all of your third-party partners. And for the most part, those are free. I don't necessarily know what they are in the UK, but I know that Bing and Google Business, Yelp in North America is one. There's all of those channels. And then the third one is reviews. So AI is going to be looking at your website and it's going to be looking at reviews. I think 25%, I think the number that I heard is 25% of your website content is considered an AI search, and the rest is considered from reviews and other sources on the internet. And reviews, one way that I encourage clients I work with is respond to the reviews, not just get their good reviews, but respond to the reviews in a way that deepens your opportunity in AI search. So we want to move beyond well, thanks for coming and thanks for taking your time to provide the review and we hope to welcome you back next year or whatever you might say. Really double down on the comments. If they talked about a peaceful setting and a wonderful view, and AI gets to see that twice in your reviews. So think of it as reviews are no longer the to-do list. They are a marketing strategy. That's a wrap. That was a lot, but that was my thoughts.
If my team are on this call, please write that down about how we respond to reviews. We're updating our operational procedures as of tomorrow, probably tonight. Some final thoughts, and that's just 60 seconds, please, Sarah, and we'll move on.
So 60 seconds, I was listening to Christine and what you said earlier about how there might be some people who either haven't fully wrapped their mind around this or know what's coming. Really quick, Google has said that search, the way we all know it, is changing as of January, and we're already starting to see that. Google has an AI tab and it will completely take over. So that means all those links that you click on to go to a location are all going to be gone. So it's all going to be an AI search, and they're searching the entire internet. So a priority, and I'm a marketer saying this, PR folks are becoming the most important person in the room because they know how to get your content in other people's content at scale. And that's how, Christine mentioned only 25% of AI search is coming from your website. Well, that 75% is coming from trusted content across the internet. And that's why a PR strategy is really important.
Beautiful. We've spoken about a lot of stuff, a lot of sophisticated stuff, and a lot of this sounds expensive, which is quite fine if you're a large property management company like Martin, a big hotel chain, and you've got lots of budget. But what about individual operators and smaller hosts there, guys? How do we do this on a budget to get the best value for money? Martin, please, your thoughts.
Well, Christine and Sarah actually teed me up quite nicely for this one on the previous round. So, like Google Business Profile, free local, drives sort of high intent traffic to your website, backing up with reviews. Christine mentioned about the reviews in and actually responding to the reviews in a way that AI picks up. Get the reviews in multiple locations. So if someone leaves a review on your Google page, get them onto another channel, Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, anywhere that you can get that that same content and same positive message replicated will just give you wider visibility. Marketing on a budget actually isn't that difficult for small operators. You just need time and attention. So you've got to produce well curated blog content. So that will be an investment to get it done well. But you can really target local activities, local development sites. One thing that worked very well for us, if you are a target for contractors stays, for example, we'd build a landing page for contractor accommodation when working on the X site in this area. That works really, really well. We've seen a big uptake in that.
And again, that's not a big investment in terms of outlay or time. And so
we've actually seen a really good ROI on just a very simple thank you email. Automated, great. Personalized, even better. And you can personalize, but automate them anyway. Referral links. I don't think that the kind of the point system is really a big thing. I think Christine said it was on the decline. Certainly, we don't see a huge value in that, but we do see a big value in offering targeted marketing when it comes to things like contractor business stays. So if we know that a guest has arrived on a Monday and they're staying for 4 days, we'll send them an automated email on a Thursday asking if they want to come back next week. And that actually works really well and it's free.
Cool. Well, it's marketing, so we're going to head over to Sarah, and you only get 60 seconds the last time, so you can answer this one. How do we get this done on a budget, from a marketing perspective?
So I keep things just really simple in my mind. That's just how I operate. And so I know people want to hear numbers. So we're gonna tackle the numbers. So think about it this way. You've got your staff, right? And so that's up to you who you want on your marketing staff. And you could go to like any salary.com type site and you can figure out what the average cost is, right? For that kind of staff member. So that gives you one major budget point for a marketing standpoint. Second is working with creators is how you're going to, if we're, kind of bringing all of this that we've been talking about together, if you're going to increase your AI visibility and you're going to do that by being in more people's content other than your own, 75% of people's content at scale, you work with creators. So in 2024, what I did as a marketing director at the Treehouse Resort is I actually cut our ad budget to a whopping $15,000 for the whole year. Because in 2023, the creator pilot program that I started was proving so well on the back end of ROI and conversions and customer acquisition costs that I was like, we don't need to keep spending too heavily on ads. So I cut to 15,000, went all into that curated PR piece that we talked about a little bit earlier. So that was the total cost. And then we actually did not lose any money for creators coming in. We set up a very specific strategy where they actually paid the clean fee and the taxes, and they came only during the weekdays, so they were not blocking up any weekend stays. So that is how you build at scale at a, cost is relative, right? And so that's kind of some numbers that you could play with in your head to see what is actually possible.
Lovely. And we've 10 minutes left, so I want to give the last section here a nice amount of your time to dedicate this to. Um, I heard a great quote from it was a Scottish billionaire, Sir Tom Hunter. He was a billionaire, one of my first mentors in business, and I was listening to him speak, and this was before lockdown. He said a great quote: "The pace of change is the fastest it's ever been, but the slowest it will ever be." I'll say that again, it had quite a big impact on me at the time. The pace of change is the fastest it's ever been, but the slowest it will ever be. And that's quite profound and scary because it's getting faster and faster. I made a quote for property management software 20 years ago. It was on a server. You'd come and they'd update it physically with a disk once a year, and you'd wait for your software update. And then it was twice a year, then it was quarterly. Then we went on to, hey, we're in the cloud. And if we think of how fast things are changing, it's the fastest it's ever been, but the slowest it'll ever be. So things are changing for us. So I want to look to the future, spend the last 10 minutes. Looking to 2026, because listen, when we look further on than that, the AI is just taking over. What's the one piece of advice the panel would give, or what's the biggest opportunity you think we should be focusing on? One actionable, implementable thing that everyone in the call and watching this can take away. And I'll just open this up and I will just go to Christine first. Just one thing they should focus on, or one big actionable tip.
Ooh, narrowing down to one thing is a challenge, let me tell you. But start now. That's the first thought. Start now. Start getting your marketing ready for AI search, because the alternative is not nice. The alternative, I think, is going to be rather ugly for a number of businesses that, yeah, just are going to be left. And where are they going to, what's going to happen? OTA dependency is going to increase. And so I think it's a matter of take things into your own control and your own hands. Start with content. It doesn't have to cost a lot. And I love that Martin and Sarah both said that, because this is really, it's more about time and intention than it is about cost. So that would be my take, is just start now with any of the tips that you've heard here today regarding how to, leverage new AI search, because you want to be there.
And it reminds me of all the big case studies you get in degrees and MBAs about how Blockbuster didn't adopt this technology and Kodak didn't adopt it. It wouldn't just be small businesses, I wouldn't think, Christine. It won't just be individual operators that are too late for this. I suspect there's some bigger players, some billion-pound companies that will be behind the times, and us as small operators and even individual hosts can actually leapfrog the visibility of these big companies by doing exactly what you say and working on it now. And that's quite encouraging. We can beat billion-pound companies by just doing things before them.
I'll just add one thing to that is an extra note of encouragement, is that once upon a time in marketing, you used to have to, you were aspiring to be number one on it, on Google. We all got the 100 emails that said, I'll put you on the first page of Google. And now, the properties that never actually got there can be the first in AI search. And that is encouraging above all, I think. So the message is start now.
Amazing. We'll just jump to Sarah next, because she's on my screen. Biggest thing that you should implement, one big thing to focus on, one thing to take away from this session.
I'm totally with Christine, not only because I like her, but I think she's smart and she's right on. And I'm going to go back and tackle this a little bit differently. So she brought up a really powerful stat that I think should stick with all of us, and that 70% of the content that AI is using to promote you actually is not coming from your source. So, whether that is if you go the creator, influencer marketing content route, or if you want to start with a more specific PR, get your content in mass scale route, either of those would be okay, like first step. But I agree, you have to start now. And that's something Christine and I have talked about before, is like, it is an exciting time. that while if you're not visible in AI, you will not be found. That's going to open up the playing field really in a very interesting way. I mean, we're already seeing in the AI search results already that people are finding places they never even heard of, brands they never knew about. So we're already seeing it happen with the boutique and the smaller short-term rental spaces. And it is exciting, and you have to start now.
Definitely. And I saw trends, you guys will know more than me, but it was like, well, I'm going to search my direct booking or my OTA, but people are just saying, I want a trip. I would have fired it from home. I want to go to Cape Verde. I want to tour all the islands. That's fantastic. Would you like me to make a personalized plan? I want to take my 3 dogs. Would you like me to find the 3 highest rated dog courier companies that would transport your dog to the Cape Verde Islands? And I'm like, well, yes.
There you go.
And this big personalized plan, which would be a personal assistant. Martin spoke about people booking contractor bookings. Well, we were always trying to get through the gatekeepers to try and get the people that were booking the contractor bookings and the executive bookings. But you're just going to say it into a phone, and something's going to come up. So it might as well be us. Last few minutes we've got, Martin, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's a big implementable thing, one big thing to focus on, or an action everyone can do moving into 2026 and beyond?
In line with what Sarah and Christine have said, absolutely 100% learn the ins and outs of how you can be affected by AI. Over and above that, what I still see the biggest opportunity is in having a specific strategy for converting bookings into direct. So you've got to get visibility, you've got to get seen, but you need to get these guests converted into your own channels. So build a process, future-proof your business by building a process and sticking to it every single day. It's not just convert one guest and then job's done. You've got to do it every single day. We've calculated that for every 5% increase in direct bookings, it has approximately 1% improvement in net profit to the host, which is a big number. So the businesses that will thrive in 2026, they won't necessarily be the ones with the biggest budgets, but they'll be the ones that know their guests best, use the right tools best, and repeatedly act on the knowledge that they have.
Fantastic. Guys, I've got double the amount of questions that I got through here. I want to always be respectful of people's times. We've signed up for an hour. I personally wanted to thank Sarah, Martin and Christine. I'm going to get this recording and I'm going to play it back to our team. I've learned so much. So I wanted to say thank you, and to the team at Zeevou for organising this and bringing us together to give you the value. I'll hand back to Silva there, and I'll let her close things off, guys, with a couple of minutes to spare. And she's put a little survey in the chat, guys, so please fill that out, give the feedback to the guys. Silva, if you wanted to say something, if not, I will close things off.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, everyone. Thank you to our panel for sharing such valuable insights, and thank you all for joining us. We hope you found the session really useful and inspiring. And on behalf of Zeevou, it's been a pleasure for us to host you, and we welcome you for future events. And I will be in touch with the panel, and I'll share everything you guys might need. I will share it with you. And thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Sarah.
everyone.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Pleasure, Martin.